like cabbage, carrots, pears, and so on. Seeds, also local production of fertilizers and some herbs. Investment of 500 million yuan approximately, out of which around 30% has come from Taiwan. Very strong affiliation with Taiwan investors, and apparently it's a group of investors with one larger company, but initiative, because of all the land, comes from the Chongqing municipality, is on the Chinese side, but with a tremendous effort to make this look a bit Taiwanese. The constructions, they were Taiwanese symbol, flowers, and so on. So bringing out this affinity. Total employees of around 8,000, including everyone, some 2,500 families. The principle being apparently that it's 1 acre per person, and with a 3-person family, it would be 3 acres. The rent for farmers to use some of these well-developed land is 1,500 renminbi per acre per year, and people earn something like between 50 and 80 renminbi per day. It's producing so far for the domestic market, but we should not think that this is granted forever, because it is located at one of the busiest railway stations and has all the connections to air and to river transport. And as you may know, Europe is already now getting its garlic, not from Europe, but from China. So in the interest of time, let me just say a few points that I found remarkable. Everyone looks at these things with different eyes, but things that I found amazing was, firstly, within 2 years, you had things fully, very rapidly developed. And I should add here that this company provides wonderful housing facilities to its employees. So you are in a situation where farmers can come there, can do the things, but have the full infrastructure available to them. Then I thought that very important is that throughout the value chain, there seems to be, I mean, the element of competition is built in. You didn't get the impression that there was any slack anywhere, that there was any possibility of, getting by, but everything seemed to be pragmatically organized in a manner that really it's the highest yield. We looked at some of the ornamental plants, and we saw that, in fact, it was a very wonderful illustration of one of the facts, the unbelievable facts we heard yesterday, namely that Chongqing has invested $200 million for ornamental trees. Right, we're getting, Patricia says 2 billion, we're being here different. In any case, it's a tremendous amount. And the number of ginkgo trees, of the most beautiful trees we saw on our way, having 7 rows of trees on the sides of the streets, was just absolutely incredible. And I understand that there will be a similar amount that is going to be invested in these decoration trees along the roads in the next cycle. So what we are seeing here is this smart way of actually investing in these beautiful decorations, but which all goes back to the country. I mean, this is really investment into employment, into local capacities. My question on whether they had been affected by the crisis, the answer was simply not, they shook their heads and said, no, I mean, this has not really had an impact on us here. So what became evident is the way in which this next round of agricultural industrialization really tries to even increase the productivity of Chinese agriculture further, so as to be able to offer better conditions, living conditions and sanitary conditions to those people who are not among the lucky 10 million to be relocated to the towns per year. Thank you.
Thanks, Friedrich. And next up is Torek Fahadi, who went to the telecommunications company tour.
Thanks, Friedrich. Thanks, Michaela. In fact, it was a car manufacturing company. It was a Volvo, Mazda, Changan, and Ford car manufacturing company. Very interesting. I come out of this visit convinced that how much China can help the rest of the world in vision and development model. We got a glimpse of the car manufacturing strategy in China. China has got onto the bandwagon of manufacturing cars a little later than Korea, much later than Japan, but you can be sure that within 5 to 6 years, the quality of the cars that are coming out of China are going to be equal to the quality of the cars that are coming out of Japan. And the prices are simply half price. We saw some of these cars, and I will tell you about all the marketing aspects, because they explained to us that in China, ladies in the household choose the color of the car ultimately, and they like bright colors. They like red or yellow, and if you go out today in Chongqing, you will notice two things. One is that you have new cars. You won't see any old cars here. Two, that they are all clean and they are bright colors, because the ladies have chosen the colors ultimately. And we asked some questions about the labor rates. An engineer who is 30 years old makes $200 a month here in these, they call them engineers, but they might be foremen in the factory floor. So you compare $200 a month with the average wage of somebody who works in a car factory in Europe or in the US, and the math is very clear. The reason, so cars are labor-intensive products, so you have a big saving in labor and producing these cars here. And since the technology has already come from the joint venture partner, there is not a lot of R&D investment, which also brings the costs down. So for cars that are more sophisticated, there is still quite a bit of import of components. But over time, this also will fade away. Our hosts explained to us that we saw Volvo S80s, which is the luxury model, which sells in Europe for about 50,000 euros, being produced here. And they said that there's an up-and-coming generation of people who like these cars because they never drive them. In fact, they have a driver because it's $200 to hire a driver for a month. So we saw these cars where business executives would just, it had a fridge in it. You could have a drink. You are in the back seat. This to describe that the whole range of cars are being produced in China. From this Ford Focus, it starts to cars that are sort of family cars, and then to luxury cars. And they explained that in the luxury car segment, most of the components are still imported because the people who buy the luxury cars are very demanding on the quality of the components, leather inside, etc. But little by little, even the companies that are making the components come to the conclusion that it's better to have a joint venture with their Chinese partner in order to have savings here and also in the market. Because it goes two ways. Trade goes two ways. The components are imported, but eventually the cars will be exported. At this point, our hosts explained to us that these cars are for Chinese consumption market. 80% of the cars stay here because there's a huge demand right here inside the country. And then the second step, that's where the vision comes in, is to go and take markets from other manufacturers, but also that in the logic of joint venture. It was explained to us that China is a huge market, and it wouldn't make sense to let somebody else come in and sell cars here. And that could be understood. So anyone who wants to sell cars in China should have a joint venture, 51% Chinese, 49% foreign, and then everybody will win in this arrangement. The technology comes in. Eventually, the